Hello, and welcome back to The Culture Shift with Jeroslyn Jovan. Our podcast aimed at inspiring the leaders of tomorrow, brought to you by Black Enterprise. Here, we like to review the success stories of today's tastemakers to encourage those who dare to dream big. Today, we're going inside Natasha Rothwell's new scripted comedy series, How to Die Alone. Premiering on Hulu on Friday, September 13th, the new show tells the story of Mel, a JFK accessibility vehicle driver who finds the motivation to start living out her dreams after facing a near-death experience. Join me as I speak with cast members Natasha Rothwell, KeiLyn Durrell Jones, and Jocko Sims, along with executive producer and co-showrunner Vera Santamaria, about the new series and learn how Natasha was finally able to bring the 7-year-old project to life. I watched the show. It's really funny, but also extremely relatable. Can you tell us a little about each of your characters and who they are to Mel?
Sure. I play Alex Williams, who is Mel's boss and former fling. They had a thing. Alex caught feelings. Mel wasn't interested, but probably because she felt that she didn't really believe that he would love her, and it causes all kinds of problems.
KeiLyn.
And I'm Terrence. I'm her workplace buddy. She comes down to my part of the airport. I work on the outside. She comes down to have her cigarettes, and we strike up a friendship. And he encourages her and challenges her to see the light in herself and step up and just do better and be better. Challenge herself to face her fears and self-improvement, whether it be something small as quitting cigarettes or taking her first flight.
Yeah. So did either of you relate to your characters at all?
Sure, yeah, I related to my character in a big bad way. I myself am not a vet. I'm a military brat, but both my parents are vets, my brothers, one of them is still in the military, aunts, uncles, whatever. So that part, and actually Natasha and I have that in common as well, being military brats. And I pride myself on encouraging my friends. I've encouraged girlfriends and friends to, start businesses and change careers and whatever it is, just self-improvement. I like to bring out the best in the people around me, you know what I mean? Or what else is there?
And what about you?
In a lot of ways, I'm like Alex, but I think I'll throw a curveball. And I've heard this question before, and I'll tell you how I'm not like Alex. I've never been attracted to somebody who outwardly rejects me or is not like in which I'm glad about. Thank God that I don't be like just stalking some girl after she. But unlike Alex, what I mean, if somebody's like, I ain't interested, they certainly become very unattractive to me. So that's how I'm
Um,
different.
I like how
Mel would have missed out.
okay, period. KeiLyn, what would you say is the central theme of How to Die Alone?
uh, well, there's many, but one of them is that there's a big difference between being lonely and loneliness. And that when you start to do better and shake up things and try to self-improvement isn't always comfortable for the people around you who love you or who you think love you, and you might lose people along the way, but you got to weigh the pros and the cons of living your best life, full
Yeah.
stop.
Yes, yes. And Jocko, what's it like working on a show that's created and led by a powerhouse Black woman in Hollywood?
So cool. It just feels different in so many ways. There's so there's so much love. There truly is genuine concern for everybody, and everybody is matters. Every crew member, and so it's nice. It really is nice, and that could be a testament to Natasha's personality. Period,
Yeah.
having not much to do with her being a Black woman, but I'm sure that influences a lot. It's really cool.
And just for my last question, both of you, what will viewers get from How to Die Alone? Either can answer first.
You're gonna get a great show that's going to definitely make you laugh. I had been laughing. I'm sure KeiLyn could say the same thing from the moment we got to read the full script. And you I in the premiere last night, I was watching back a couple of scenes. and they hit me so much differently. And so you're going to have that roller coaster of emotions. And that's all I look for in a show. And you'll learn a couple of things. The show will give you permission for yourself to let yourself fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. You're gonna get a lot of laughs, but also a lot of heart. It's a nice exploration of what it means for self-improvement.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm looking forward to everyone else seeing the show. It's very entertaining and very relatable. And so are your characters. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Hey, Natasha girl. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's so great to speak with you. I watched the show. I'm loving it. And then you are just this is your season. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy for you.
No one's more excited than me, girl.
Okay. But you got some other news, but we're going to talk about Mel. We are here with How to Die Alone. This is your brainchild. Just tell us a little about your character and what viewers are going to get from her story.
Yeah, I play the character of Melissa, and she drives accessibility vehicles at JFK. And she's someone who stopped dreaming. She's someone who has settled for okay and doesn't feel worthy of more than enough. And so it's a really exciting role to be playing because I get to paint with a lot of really cool colors of emotion. I get to really, play with subverting expectation. And I think audiences are really going to connect to her and find her to be someone they want to root for. And I hope that in rooting for her, they root for themselves to start living and not wait.
Yes. What inspired this story?
A couple of things. One, I always, from the time I can remember, had a fear of dying alone. And I think that fear comes courtesy of, rom-coms and Hallmark movies. And I think when I got into therapy in my 20s, I was realizing that I was afraid of the wrong thing, that alone is not something that we can control, but loneliness is something that we can. And being able to differentiate those two words was really important to me because it allowed me to activate myself and find my agency and figure out, okay, how can I satiate my loneliness? And the answer was vulnerability. I have to put myself out there. I have to engage with people and let people in. And I think creating the character of Mel was so important for me to put those emotions and feelings on because I think it's a common experience and we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. I mean, it seems full circle as it relates to just what you're doing with this show that you created. Many of us were introduced to you as Kelly on Insecure, and you worked alongside Issa Rae, who had also created a character and wrote a story that it was a relatable story, but just from the perspective of a Black woman.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing you do that with How to Die Alone. Would you say your experience working with Issa had any impact on how you saw yourself as a Black woman in Hollywood with the ability to tell these diverse, relatable stories, and then also create opportunities for yourself and others?
Yeah, I think I feel so lucky to have had a front row seat to her experience. And I think one of the biggest things I took away is that she didn't see herself reflected in the way that she wanted. And so she picked up a pen and created a show. And I think realizing that power and watching it at play is galvanizing. It's a catalytic, thing to see someone actively changing the script, literally and figuratively, and inserting herself into the narrative. And I think for me, plus size Black women aren't in the narrative nearly enough. And I think it was just exciting to be able to pick up a pen and change the story and allow us to have our neuroses and our searching and our finding. And none of it is being anchored on our size or our color or our gender. We're allowed to have stories, and our gender and our color and our size are just facts. We don't have to waste page real estate to justify our otherness. We can just dive into story. And so that's what excited me about this project.
This show is filled with so many relatable characters. I think everyone's doing a phenomenal job. The casting is incredible. What was it like casting everyone for their specific role?
It was, it's cliche. It was a dream come true. I mean, I'd been living with these characters in my head for so long. And so to be able to see them in real life, in these auditions, elevating what's on the page and adding, that 3D texture needed in performance. It really was sort of a full circle moment for me to see them come to life. And it was just a treat to be able to cast the actor. I mean, it was an embarrassment of riches. And if there's one thing I took from Issa, was cast fine ass men, and I did the damn thing. I was not ashamed. I was just like, they're so talented, they're so symmetrical, and I had so much fun with them. And they're just good people and just great at the craft. And so iron sharpens iron, and I was excited to get on stage with them when we got to Toronto to shoot. And yeah, it was a joy to be a part of that process, from the vantage point of just having lived with it for so long.
After watching this show, I really wanted to ask you what advice you have for people who might find themselves having to be happy for other people while not being happy with themselves.
That's a hard thing. That's just a hard thing. And I think a large part of it is not using other people's external success to measure your internal worth. There's a huge difference between seeing someone on Instagram and, the trailer for their life looks amazing. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what they had to give up or sacrifice to get what they want, but you know what you want. You know what you stand for. You know what your non-negotiables are. And so my best advice would be try to keep your eyes on your own paper and just recognize that what you see is not always what it is. And you have to understand that your time is coming and to be patient. And I can say that this show took 7 years to make. I was very patient. And I saw so many of my friends get shows and take off on the careers. And I just knew that I'm walking in my purpose, I'm walking in my calling, and I'm not gonna look left or right. I'm just gonna keep going. And so just keep going.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you for this. And shout out to you. I'm loving your season. Enjoy it. Relish in it.
Thank you so much.
What would you say inspired this story in particular?
I have to give all the credit to Natasha here. This is a project that has lived with her for over 7 years. I think she wanted to have kind of an outlet to explore something that is both like very funny and very heartbreaking. And setting it at JFK kind of gives you that thing. It's a place of big elation and excitement. And it's also a place where we often see people crying. Your emotions are like so heightened there. So it really was her baby that I came on board to kind of partner with her on.
Each episode kicks off with a personal testimonial from normal, everyday people. I really like that component. What would you say was the deciding factor to include these narratives and stories in the series?
Yeah, that element was something that really was Natasha's brainchild. She was really inspired by like some just this having a documentary element would help you feel like you're falling more into the show, where you're almost like now watching Mel as if she's in real life. And so that's a piece that she came up with and advocated for. And even when it seemed like it was going to be almost impossible or really hard to do during production, she really made sure that we got it. And I'm so glad she did, because it gives it such a special texture when you see each episode starting with that, that I'm really glad that we have that element.
Yes. So you have co-EP'd on shows like Orange is the New Black. How did those experiences, I didn't want to go through your whole resume, but you have a resume, check the IMDb. How did those experiences impact how you saw yourself as a woman in Hollywood with the ability to create opportunities for yourself and other women?
Yeah, it's my true north, like I got into television because I felt so unseen by television, being a South Asian kid. And so every project I choose, I kind of look to that as my North Star. I want to do something that is expanding the stories that are told about women, people of color, anyone who feels like they're just kind of in the shadows. that's the kind of projects I like to take on, and showing a slice of experience that wouldn't be seen normally in mainstream media.
Yeah.
So that's what obviously drew me to How to Die Alone. I see a lot of myself in Mel. I definitely know what it's like to feel unseen in a room, to be doing the work but be passed over. And I really wanted to kind of help bring Natasha's story to life and be a person who could come on board and kind of dig deep and make it what she wanted this to be.
Yeah, you kind of touched on my next question, because the show is, in my opinion, it's so relatable, and it's filled with so many different relatable characters. Just even seeing the dialogue between Mel and her coworkers at JFK, it's very reminiscent for anybody who's worked a job. I am from New York, so just those moments when you're in the break room are kind of away from your superiors, and you can just have that free, open conversation, were just some of the best moments ever in my life socially. Would you say that that was important, having those relatable characters? Was that important to include, or did it just happen organically with casting and writing?
I think it was important to include, like we wanted to, the workplace comedy is a big part of the show. It's not the entire show. But we also knew that we were going to be tackling some very difficult themes, hard subjects. So we wanted to make sure the workplace could balance that with some levity. So we made sure that we were kind of having those relatable moments, because we all love kind of messing up at work, and the camaraderie we have with our coworkers, wanted to have that. So it wasn't just the show following like a singular experience. It made sure that if you watched it as an audience, you really felt yourself in the characters. So that was really by design. And luckily we were both able to pull from our real life jobs, and as our staff, as our writing staff was too, pulling in those real pieces of our lives made it feel like it wasn't too written. It really feels like you're with these people at their gig.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Vera. I really enjoyed our talk, and I enjoyed the show, so I can't wait for everyone else to enjoy it as well.